Welcome to the Supplement Engineer Podcast, the official, unofficial, supplement-centric podcast of the LSU Fighting Tigers of Baton Rouge, your 2019 football SEC champions. Joining me as always for our week in review recap is Justin Hall of Supplement Snoop. Welcome, my friend.
You know, man, actually, now that you mentioned LSU, it's very exciting. Miami is playing a dominant powerhouse team from Louisiana in their bowl game this year. Louisiana Tech.
Yeah. The Fighting Texters.
Miami's going to get their ass beat, too.
I mean, Louisiana Tech is kind of good, but I'm sure y'all should be able to put a beating on them. I would hope so.
Let me just say this. Let's just get this out of here before we get into the supplement stuff. So here's another reason why Miami sucks and can't get back to any sort of prominence whatsoever. We constantly have kids leave school early that won't even get motherfucking drafted. It's like, when did this start? You leave school early, usually it was to be a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Nope. So we have like a bunch of kids sitting out the bowl game for a draft that they're not going to be participating in. So that's just pretty much par for the course.
Yeah, that's an agent chirping in their ear that's talking about. Man, we've seen it happen a bunch with like the college basketball picks and going into the NBA draft. I think there's only 3 rounds in the NBA draft, and you've got all these kids that go into it and declare early, and so now they've had to go back and change the rules that say, oh well, if you declare, you can renege on your commitment to declare within X amount of time, and then you're still valid to play in college and all of that. And and then skipping bowls is another trend that's gotten started lately when people like Christian McCaffrey sat out the bowl game, Leonard Fournette did it, and a bunch of others have done it in the interim since. So it's just,
I hear you. It was like that one kid from Notre Dame that got hurt.
Miles Jack. Or was that from UCLA?
Jalen Smith.
Jalen Smith, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like everyone since then has been, it's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Whatever, so big Miami, that's the day after Christmas. I actually thought that when they announced what the bowl was, it's the, I don't know.
Holiday Championship Bowl?
No, the irony is it's actually the walk-ons. There's a, I think it's like I don't know if it's a apparel, like sporting goods kind of thing, but it's called walk-ons. They're sponsoring the bowl, so it's the walk-ons, like Independence Bowl, and I'm like, pretty much, because that's who's going to be playing in the game, is walk-ons.
Oh, no, walk-ons. Funny thing, here's another little...
Is it a bar or something?
It is a sports bar that was started in Baton Rouge by 2 walk-ons on the LSU basketball team. They sucked at basketball, opened up a very successful sports bar restaurant franchise, and now I think Drew Brees has helped partner with them to open up a few other locations down in Louisiana. So yeah, man, we got so many LSU connections in this episode already. It's amazing.
It's amazing. As I was saying apparel, I'm like, that's not it. It's not apparel.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the walk-on. Hey, we're in the walk-ons bowl, man.
In the walk-ons, the Independence Bowl. Yeah, that's right down the road from Louisiana Tech too. That's like the bowl they just always go to because it's 6 minutes away from their campus.
Right. So we're playing a road game and a bowl game, and
yeah.
Whatever. You're playing Louisiana Tech.
All good. I hope y'all kick the crap out of them because my sister-in-law and brother-in-law both graduated from there, and we're not super fond of them. So yeah.
Well, so we will have that in between waiting for real football to start up.
Good deal, man. So what's new in the supplement universe this week since we've last chatted?
Oh man. Since last week, I did get a Like a Pro shipment in today.
Yeah?
Like a Pro, I ordered this. I ordered some, I got through Black Friday. Basically, we'll talk about Black Friday hauls. But I ordered from a couple of retailers that, are part of our group and that we support and stuff like that. But I ordered basically all, like, essential stuff that I normally have. Like, my wife uses Alpha EAs all the time, so we stocked up on some, I think, like Alpha GPC and curcumin and stuff like that from NutraBio. So I didn't buy anything like new products or anything like that, but so we got through Black Friday and all that, spent a shit ton of money, and then fucking Jeff Long has to do like a buy 3 products get 1 free kind of thing on his site. I was like, you dick.
Take my money.
So I held out because he was like, well, it's only going to be for 2 days. So I didn't buy. I didn't buy anything. And I held out because I was like, man, I don't need anything. As much as I love his products, I was like, I don't need anything.
Yeah.
Well, then he extended it, and I fell for it. So I just got some protein. I got some burn away and some other stuff today. I'm trying to think. I don't think I got anything like new over the last week.
Mm-hmm. With companies, because we just came off Black Friday, so we'll extend off of that topic for our first thing to discuss. We are both subscribed to a bunch of mailing lists for all of these companies and things, and you get bombarded by like 6,000 emails between Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And then, so obviously, this is when the companies are trying to move a ton of product. But do you think it's a little strange when you get emails like Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday after the Cyber Mondays ended and they keep saying sale extended, sale extended? So does that immediately just, I'm a very skeptical person by nature, and that means, did your sales just not go over well? Or your product's not resonating with the consumers? Is that, or do you just have this much extra shit lying around your warehouse that you're trying to clear out? So I'm trying to figure out why are they doing? I mean, obviously there's some motivation behind it. I'm just trying to figure out what it is.
No, you're 100% right. But does it matter? Because like I was just describing, I fell for it.
Yeah.
I won't say I fell for it, but you're exactly right because there's this scare tactic in these emails and stuff like that you one day, man, you got one day. Well, bullshit. Like usually you have like a week,
Right?
And it's like, oh, the Black Friday sale is extended through Cyber Monday. Cyber Monday sale is extended through, and then now you have everyone's doing like 12 days of Christmas and Christmas sales, and it's just like, dude, just give it a break already.
Yeah, it almost reminds me of my dad was like me was a mechanical engineer, and for years he worked for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in New Orleans, doing all the locks and the spillway stuff around in and around there for the pumping systems. And he said the budget every year was use it or lose it, to where they had to spend that budget and use it all, because if they didn't spend exactly what they had been budgeted by the government, they wouldn't get as big of a budget for next year. And I wonder if that's almost like the supplement industry. It's like these companies have to blow through all of their inventory. They're just not going to release as many new products or have as much to spend in the following year on it. So they just got to clear everything out to start fresh right as the new year turns over.
Yeah, that's an interesting comment. I remember that was my first experience with how like the government work and budgets. I was a teenager and I was working a job, and we did work for the fire department.
Mm-hmm.
And we were constantly making these things for them, and they were like, well, they just throw them basically in the dumpster by now anyway. And I'm like, I don't understand. So they're like, well, they have a certain amount of budget, so they have to buy X amount from us every year, whether they use it or not. And that way they get the same budget next year. So we just make this stuff and it goes right in the garbage. And I'm like, wow. So that was like, I'm like, wait, so, okay. When someone's like, well, how do you get $20 trillion in debt? I was like, well,
yeah, American efficiency right there in action for you.
That's right. So it's kind of funny. That's interesting. But no, I'm with you. I think NutriBio is still doing a sale. I think I just got an email from them yesterday or something about their extended sale. And I think you're exactly right. It's like, well, did your Black Friday thing just not go over as well as you hoped, or maybe it went over so well that you want to keep it going? I don't know.
Yeah, that's one thing we'll never actually know unless we reach out to companies. And if a company's sales performances, were lackluster, I doubt they would ever actually give us an honest answer and say, well, we didn't perform as well as we wanted to on Friday and Monday, so we extended it a few days to hopefully reach our numbers that we had projected and things like that. But I mean, that's really nothing here or there. So.
Yeah, and I think it's like, well, I'm sure, right, you try to spin it as well as possible, but if a company now is going on week 2 of whatever their percent sales are, that's kind of scary too. It's like, well, why don't you just have that price year round then? And I think it goes back to like one reason why we tried to support places like Natural Body Inc., like retailers that instead of doing a lot of sales, they do year round, like low prices. I think I'm just, as like a lot of people, especially in supplements, are always searching for like the best deal. I just find that kind of behavior like insulting. Like if I support your brand all year round and then I buy from you and then all of a sudden the sale pops up, some absurd sale, I take that kind of personally. I think that's kind of annoying. It's like, well, what about me, man? Like I've been buying your shit all year long, And now it's sort of like a middle finger to your customers that support you. You're trying to get all these new people into your little ecosystem, so you basically give away stuff for free. It's like, well, what about everyone that was just been buying from you at full price all year long?
Right. I had an email. It was the week before Black Friday hit, and it was a Redcon one email saying, "Hey, buy one get one free on the MRE bars." And I'll just clicked it open and see buy one get one free protein bars. That's a rarity that you buy one box. And sure enough, I open the page and one box of bars costs $36. So I mean, at that point, you're not saving a whole lot more from what the regular price of the bar is probably in the store.
I
It was something I don't remember if it was exactly $36, but it was in the 30s for like a single box of bars.
Yeah, I think we were joking about that the other day. I said, I think Redcon, I know they didn't hit their Black Friday numbers that they were hoping for. I was like, I think they're giving away, like, if you buy Total War, you get like 3 months rent they pay for your stuff. I was like, they're crazy, man. Would they have like $150 swag bag for buying a pre-workout? I was like, man, they are generous. They are some nice people over there just giving stuff away.
Yeah, lots of stuff. Yeah, we don't. Do your parents still? So we're approaching Christmas, and a lot of people do their Christmas shopping on Black Friday, obviously. Do you still get requested from your parents to give them like things they want to get you gifts for Christmas, and you have to give them a list each year or anything like that?
They just give me food.
Okay.
Like I'm an only child. My wife is an only child, so our holidays, and we don't have any kids, so our holidays as we've gotten older have really shrunk down, right? So
Yeah.
no one really, we don't do a lot of gifts, but like what my mom always does is she'll like this year I just got in the mail a big box of like salmon, like all like 100 like salmon fillets, because she knows also my wife doesn't eat salmon, so this will be mine. Or like she'll do like she's done like lobster tails and steaks and stuff like that in the past, and I'm pretty easy, man. Just give me some good food and I'm a happy guy. So no, I'm pretty tough to buy for, I think, anyway, because I don't really need stuff, and when I need it, I just go buy it, kind of thing. Like you're probably the same way.
Yeah, and that's the exact problem I run into every year. And Sandy's like you in that just get her food of any kind, and she's very happy. So that's made it very easy on me as a husband because she doesn't like to buy a bunch of little knickknack shit. She doesn't really go for jewelry or expensive clothing or anything like that. It's just, get her nice food or something like that, and she's usually really happy. But every year my parents come to me, and I know that they were always great to us growing up. They were always very generous at Christmas. And as I've gotten older, they still want to, get us some gifts for Christmas. And I can never think of anything because, like you said, I'm an adult now. I don't want for very much. And if it is, I just kind of grab it. But I don't have a lot of, frilly things. So every year it becomes like this little very stressful thing of, I know I've got to come up with a list of like 5 or 6 things and then I struggle every year to figure out what the frick to ask. So I reached out to Moody the other day. I said, hey, what's a good neuroscience book? So I gave him like, here's a textbook on neurochemistry and neuroscience. I want to, I'll read this, or I guess I could put supplements on there, but I don't know if they would ever actually order a supplement for me or not.
Right. I think it's like, well, either food or alcohol. Like
yeah.
Whatever. Just give a bottle of whiskey and some steaks and just leave it alone, man.
Yeah.
We'll be good to go with that.
Gift card to a nice restaurant or something. I mean, I'm perfectly happy with that.
Yeah, and that was like kind of my thing when I laugh about with Christmas. I was like, we all just buy each other like gift cards. So we're essentially, I'm gonna hand you $50, and you're gonna hand me $50, and I'm gonna hand this like, well, what the hell are we doing here? Like, why don't you just keep your money and say,
yeah,
we're essentially just passing money around, and it comes back to you. So it's like, what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah, I guess it's the thought that you put in some effort to go get somebody something, regardless of the monetary value. It's you taking that extra step to go and get them something. So
right, because there's really like no thought or effort in going buying, certain things, or oh, I'm gonna order you a gift card online, and it's gonna show up in your email. It's like, well, hey, thanks for going above and beyond. I love it, man. We don't have time for that shit anymore. We don't have time to go. It was like a friend of mine. He owns a retail store, a supplement store. He was like, man, you wouldn't believe how many people that live within like a mile or two buy online, and then they just come pick the stuff up. You know what I mean? He's like, it's just fascinating. I'm like, yeah, people just would rather shop in their underwear and not have to be around any other people and they watch porn at the same time while they're shopping online, and then they just go and pick it up when they're ready. It's like
The age
gotta
of
love
convenience.
it. Exactly.
And like a lot
Gotta
of the
love it.
grocery stores by us will do the thing where you can shop for groceries online, and then they'll have it ready, and you go pick it up. But I actually enjoy grocery shopping. I'm one of those weird people that enjoys
So do I.
picking out my own food and walking around the store. Not
Mm-hmm.
the way that I used to do it, like with my aunt, where we'd go to Sam's and we would walk up and down every freaking aisle in like a Sam's or a Costco. That's too much. But walking around the store, getting stuff. Plus, I don't trust people to pick out the produce that I'm going to get. I would rather pick mine because they might just pick whatever little moldy piece of thing is on top. If if they got to shop for 6 people at the same time.
I agree. We actually, that's what we do, like on Friday night, we go grocery shopping.
Yeah.
Because no one else is there. Because that's the only thing that I don't like about the grocery stores like around us is sometimes it's just a nut house. But like, that's what we do, man. Friday night, we like it.
It's a steamy date night for you and Mrs. Snoop, man. Grocery shopping.
Absolutely, man. Because she's the same way. Like you mentioned about your wife. You just give my wife some good food, man. She's a happy camper. She doesn't.
Yeah.
I don't want to say she doesn't need jewelry or nice. She just doesn't really.
Yeah, she doesn't have a propensity or a craving for it, a predilection.
Yeah. Nope. Just some good food, and she's happy, man. So that's the way to go. It's not a bad life.
Low maintenance women for the win.
Yep. Amen to that.
Yes. All right. So let's get back to some actual supplements related talk. The finalists for the Stack3D Protein Wars were announced. It's between Ghost and Bomar. Any thoughts on those two? I know there were some possible shenanigans last week, and there was some scuttlebutt that there was maybe some fake voting going on, and then Shane had to put up a little blurb saying, we check all the fake votes, and I know a couple of people, consumers and brands alike, were a little suspect of way the voting patterns were going initially, up until the 2 finalists were announced. So what are your thoughts on the whole ordeal?
I think it just solidifies our point, my point, that I think you said the same thing, why the whole thing is just, it's just so dumb. But I shouldn't say it's dumb because if Stacked, they want traffic to their website.
Mm-hmm.
This creates a fuck ton of traffic to their website, and so that's good. That allows them to keep providing free articles that, right? I'm not gonna, because we talk about their website every week. It's content for everyone, and people enjoy reading it. So I get why they do it. I mean, it's a huge thing. Like anybody that gets their hands involved in these types of things will have an increase in traffic and clicks and all that stuff. So if that's your business model, then I get it. But just as consumers, you just have to remember that the whole thing is rigged. Like the whole system is gamed. So it's like, well, it's entertainment only. Like how they have to put a disclaimer on gambling, for entertainment purposes only. Like that's how this is. But at the same time, when they did get down to the final, I think 6 was the first time I saw who Stacked had in their final 6.
Yeah.
I think it was Bomar and Ghost were the only 2 where I was like, okay, those 2 are good, legitimate proteins.
Right.
So I hope that those are the 2. And nothing against anyone else. I just don't know. I don't know anything about the other. Well, I know Optimum, which for being 2019, for them to be in it is kind of weird. But
yeah,
I've never had like Alani Nu or Performix and stuff, so I can't say anything negative about their protein. But at the same time, I know so many great proteins that came out this year, and I can't imagine those being the final 6.
Yeah, and it leads me to another thing I was thinking about. It's bodybuilding.com, which is another big internet retailer. Announces a brand of the month each month, or they'll announce their own supplement awards every year about the most innovative pre-workouts and all this stuff. And I'm just thinking, maybe it's noteworthy to other people, but I think for the informed consumer, when you see these things, that it's got to be a crock. Because whatever brand is either bringing in the most dollars or paying them the highest ad money for that month is going to get the brand of the month slotting. Right.
So on that vein, I know you and we're highly paid by Olympus Lifestyle to say great things about them, right? Like we've been accused of being in their pockets. So what I would say is they, like Moby the other day announced that they were the brand of the month on bodybuilding.com. I'm like, well,
Oh, they
no
were?
shit.
Okay, I
Yeah,
didn't
I
know
was like,
that.
well, no shit, you were. You just launched there.
Yeah.
They're going to want to attract attention to a new brand that they're trying to infuse interest in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're not. I mean, no offense, right? We talk about them. We talk very well about them. But I was like, you're not the brand of the month. You were the new brand that just kind of came in there. Like when Alpha Lion goes there, whenever they go to bodybuilding, they'll be the brand of the month. Right. So I think we know that by now. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just like, just call it what it is.
Yeah,
like,
it's the flavor of the month. They're trying to drive sales for a new brand that just entered their store.
Right. So it's all, it's just, at some point, man, there was a time, I'll like sit on my rocking chair on the porch right now and say, back in the day, I used to enjoy this stuff and get into it, and now it's like, just shut up already.
Yeah, there's so many products, and there are so many products that are constantly released throughout the year that it's hard to pick like the single best pre-workout, because nothing is really going to like revolutionize the pre-workout landscape these days. I mean, short of somebody coming out with a legitimate DMAA replacement, nothing's really going to revolutionize pre-workouts. And then once one company brings it to the market, everybody else is going to throw it in there. We've seen that with Teacrine, with Dynamine, Vaso-6, Nitrosogene. It's an arms race. As soon as one company has a new ingredient, then 46 others line up behind it to throw it in there and compete for that same kind of cachet of having, the shiny new toy on the street.
Yeah, I know, because people have asked me, they're like, well, they know we don't do like awards, but like, well, what's some of the products that you liked from this year? If you look back, I mean, 2019 is a long year, man. Yep. So many products came out. Yeah. So it's like, I can't even remember all the products that came out, let alone, which ones do I remember? And was there anything that, changed how I live my life or things? No, there was some cool stuff. There was some cool here and there and things like that. But it's like, man, was there anything that, like, that was the one, that was what they did? And like, I was just talking to somebody about their awards the other day. They announced the best pre-workout for 2019, and then basically said, now it might not be the best for you. I'm just saying it's the best. Like, well, then what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah, just say here's my favorite pre-workout. Don't use best. It's my personal favorite.
And that's cool, like, but it's just that doesn't have anything to do with. It doesn't have anything to do with anything, really.
Yeah, exactly.
So, gotta love it, man. I just, how it goes. I've beaten it to death already, so.
Yeah. Earlier you mentioned that your wife likes Alpha EAA a lot, and that was one of the notable products, I would say, that got released this year. What's her typical application of use?
She actually uses it intra. She doesn't take pre-workout or anything like that. And she'll actually use it maybe a couple times a day, which is why we go through so much of it. But I think that's, was Alpha EAA the most like revolutionary product? No. But what I like about it is it's a simple approach, but it's exactly like what you're sort of getting at here. It's like, well, how do you use it? A lot of people use it in different ways, and a lot of people that never maybe go to the gym can still use it and still find benefit. That's what I think is cool about that product. But I know she usually uses it intra, and then sometimes maybe like mid-afternoon, early evening, if she's still working through the night or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just because she doesn't like stimulants a whole lot. So that actually ties into the argument I was having today. I said debate over what is a stimulant. It's with alpha GPC and stuff like that. It's not a stimulant where it's raising your heart rate and stuff like that. But she feels a stimulatory effect from it, from like alpha GPC and stuff like that. So you're getting that energizing effect from it without the caffeine, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. So would you in that instance, then, would you classify like those really aggressive cholinergic things like alpha GPC, CDP choline, huperzine, Noopept, would you classify those as stimulants to a lesser degree? Or do you throw them in that same kind of vein as like Teacrine and Dynamine, where they won't really keep you up or disrupt sleep, but they still kind of, energize you and get you motivated and focused?
Yeah, and I guess that's just the thing, is like, how do you interpret that? I think from using things like Dynamine and cholinergic things, like what you say, like, you feel that,
Yeah.
you know, kind of that motivation, that thing. So while not like traditionally like stimulatory where we're going to raise, you know, or central nervous system is going to be under, you know, some kind of stress or something like that. Well, it's not that. It's still hard for me to say that that's a non-stim because it is creating a stimulatory effect, whether it's in the brain, you know, nootropic wise or something like that. You're still getting like a stimulatory effect. So while not traditionally stimulatory, I think so. I think things like alpha GPC, I think it's okay for people to consider that stimulatory.
Okay, fair enough. I guess there needs to be like a more formalized definition, I guess, of how do we classify a stimulant. Is it something that just are we going to take the cardiovascular parameters into consideration when we're doing that, or is it just based on, you know, neurological activity? Does it heighten the senses and alertness, focus, arousal, things like that? Is that just classifies it, or is it something that increases heart rate, raises blood pressure, causes, you know, modest to transient vasoconstriction, those things?
Right, and I guess that's just my thing is we don't. Yeah, there's so much is sort of changing with supplements, how we use them, especially nootropic wise. It's like, well, I guess it's sort of if it motivates or spurs people to learn more about what this stuff is doing, you know, how it can give you energy like effects without giving you maybe the negative quote unquote side effects. It's like I think those are important things to learn, and then whether you want to consider it a stimulant or not, sort of up to you. Because like I get it. Like if someone says to me, they're like, "Well, I don't consider alpha GPC a stimulant," that's fine because it's really not.
Right.
But if you're like, it gives me a stimulatory effect, then I understand that too. So it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing, I guess.
Good. Fair enough, man. Moving on to the Stack3D Newswire, there's, like, over the last couple of days, there has not been anything that has really jumped out at me. I mean, as we've said in the past couple of weeks, it is a lot of protein foods and fake foods and Franken foods and things like that, and new flavor releases, but there's nothing that has really jumped out at me as far as a new supplement.
Did you see this from Black Market?
Yes, I just saw that. That's at the top of the Newswire currently.
So you see this trademark form of caffeine in there?
Cafe Lattice.
Natural caffeine from Arabica coffee bean.
Wow.
We just trademark everything. It's all good.
Yeah, They made up a name and it's wow. Yeah, 3 grams of citrulline malate, 1.6 of beta alanine, 1.25 of betaine. So you need to double scoop this to get any kind of efficacious dose from this product.
For sure. It becomes a pretty expensive, you know, for 15 servings, you're paying $35.
Right. That's not cheap.
No, that's putting it in pretty expensive territory.
Yeah, it's over $2 a serving, and you can get much better dosed things, something like a NutriBio Pre or any of the other fully dosed pre-workouts, or something like we got to do the plug for Morphogen, our obligatory non-compensated plug for Morphogen.
Well, you know, that's kind of always been like my point when we talk about pre-workouts and stuff like this, and this will be a good example for some people. People will look at the price and say, well, but then they don't realize, and I'm not saying this product in particular, but a lot of times when you see products out there, it's like, well, NutriBio's Pre is way too expensive. And it's like, well, when you look at it, you might only need 1/8 of a scoop of NutriBio's Pre to equal 1 serving of the one you're comparing it to. So it's like, well, if you really do the math, it's actually cheaper to buy NutriBio's and just use less of it at a time or something like that.
Yeah.
So that whole price thing gets kind of weird.
Yeah, and what I hate from the marketing shenanigans that Black Market is doing here, and I've seen it with other companies too, they'll call their pre-workout, they'll bill it as an introductory pre-workout or a beginner pre-workout, and all that means is it's underdosed as all get out. It's going to have 150 to 200 milligrams of caffeine, and then everything else will be underdosed. That
really actually, when people say that pisses me off, because it's exactly the same point. Like, so I'll go and use NutriBio's Pre, then that's an introductory pre-workout too. You just use way less of it. You use a 1/4 scoop of it and you're getting the same thing. You use a 1/2 scoop, you're getting the same thing.
Correct.
People that use the introductory thing especially when it comes to if you're going to underdose performance ingredients and call it introductory, then you're a liar because you're telling me because this person is a quote unquote beginner that they don't need the dose of a performance ingredient that you need to unlock those benefits, that they don't need that much. Well, what's the difference? Like, what's the difference? So you're telling me that person, because they're a beginner, they only need 500 milligrams of citrulline, as opposed, even though we know it doesn't do anything. It's like,
yeah, you're just preying on the uninformed.
Yeah. So you say it's a beginner pre-workout. I can't remember who that was one day, man. They said beginner pre-workout, and I went, they were like, well, all right, we're out of here. I can't remember who that was. It was a company. They're like, oh, it's meant to be a beginner pre-workout. I was like, don't even say that shit. That just means you went the cheap route, underdosed it.
Exactly. You do daily lives on Instagram. Did you get an influx of questions around the Black Friday, Cyber Monday time for products that were on sale or anything like that?
Yeah, I think, some people were reaching out, to get opinions on anytime. That's what I can always tell when a company or when people have seen some sponsored ads or there's some kind of promotion, because I get an influx of the same product and I'm like, oh, someone must have talked about it. A lot of people that follow me follow, whether it's Mark Lobliner or whether it's some people like that, they'll mention a product and then people come run to me and ask me about it. So it's like I can always tell when something else, because I don't get out much, man. I just stick to my own stuff.
Yeah.
And I just leave it alone. But I can always tell what's going on out there because I'll get a lot of redundancy about the same products or ingredients or something like that. I love it.
Good. We've beaten this drum before, but KetoLogic released a keto-friendly, keto-certified.
That makes a big difference.
It does. Snack bar. These are the macros on it: 15 grams of fat, 14 grams of carbohydrates with 9 grams of fiber, so you're getting 5 grams of net carbs, and 6 grams of protein. I mean, that you're better off having like 2 spoonfuls of peanut butter for the same calories, and you'll get better macros from it. You'll get less carbs and more protein.
Where is this at? Oh, KetoLogic.
Yeah.
Wait, so you skipped past Force Factor?
Yeah, that was.
I thought for sure you were gonna go there.
I mean, I could go off on that one too. I don't have any respect for those products.
I just honestly, man, I don't understand keto and snacks, and it doesn't really seem to make a whole lot of sense to me. So I just don't. I don't look into it. I don't get it. I don't get it. So I got nothing.
Okay. All right. Well, since you brought up Force Factor, let's scroll through their nonsense.
Ooh, what is Slim Vance? Next Gen. Moringa oleifera. Where do we know that name?
Moringa oleifera. Isn't that what is Dynamite? Isn't that where it's, or is that Mangiferin?
I feel like this isn't. Oh shit! I don't remember. I can't remember. I feel like I think I was thinking that was the one that was part of Fitnox.
That might be it.
But I don't remember. So what's in horseradish tree?
Very good memory, Mr. Snoop. Moringa oleifera, pomegranate, and black ginger is what's Fitnox.
I took my nootropics today.
You did, man. Unreal energy matrix of caffeine anhydrous, Zoom XR extended release caffeine, and Infinergy. So 200 milligrams total, where there is no clear delineation of how much of each of those you're getting or what the total caffeine yield of the product is based on this ingredients panel here.
I didn't know you were being serious. So they trademarked caffeine anhydrous, Zoom XR, and Infinergy
they're
together.
Yeah, and
And
it's called their
treat.
Unreal Energy Matrix.
Oh my god! What the fuck? Why?
This is a steaming pile of shit. This formula.
Why would they do that? Like, you really went through the process of trademarking a couple of so we can trademark ingredients. We could put trademark ingredients and we could put them together and trademark that.
Yeah.
Man,
50 milligrams of guarana, 50 milligrams of yerba mate, 50 milligrams of white willow, which is going to be possibly contain salicylic acid if they're using a decent extract, which supports weight loss. 50 milligrams of teacrine, 25 of Capsumax, 25 of yohimbe, standardized for yohimbine, but it doesn't tell you what the standardization is, what the percentage it is. It could be 1% yohimbine, it could be 45% yohimbine, it could be 36.5% yohimbine, we don't know. And 5 milligrams of bioperine. All of this for the extremely affordable price of $65.
Wow.
God damn.
Good luck.
Yikes.
I'm still stuck on the trademarking, the trademark form of trademarked caffeine sources and putting them together in trademark.
Yeah.
Alright, let's go to something else.
Wow.
I see. Oh, yeah, because you probably know this too. Bowman released their amino acid product. Looked pretty good.
I did see that. I'm curious why they went with the 3-1-1 ratio of the BCAAs.
Yeah. But they had a couple, I think, good dosages. Of lysine, threonine, and phenylalanine, I think, were the three that they had dosed pretty well. Looked like it was quite a bit of the total amount.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, it seemed like it was pretty high.
Yeah, 9 grams of essential amino acids. And usually when companies tout a really high amount of that, it's usually like 7 grams worth of BCAAs and 2 grams worth of the other 6 essential amino acids. This is a little bit more balanced profile. I'm curious why histidine is so low. And I mean, Josh and Sarah would willingly answer that question. I just need to reach out to them for clarification. But they've got 250 of methionine, which is probably the worst tasting of all of the EAAs, and they've got a fair amount of it in there, or 5 times the amount of what I'm used to seeing in other EAA formulas that usually only include 50 milligrams worth of it.
Well, I think the EAA thing is kind of interesting because there's just really not a lot out there isolating each one at any kind of dosage from each other, but you see companies tinkering with these ratios, and I think like what you're sort of alluding to, methionine, especially, we get methionine from some different places in the body. Do you necessarily need to, or is it a good idea to supplement with a lot of methionine? It kind of depends. I think Will Wallace made a really good post the other day about sort of the delicate balance of neurotransmitters and things like that, and he was talking about methionine as part of it, and it being that you can't flavor it very well, so you see why some companies will go on the lower end or leave it out altogether. So it's just interesting. I think it's fascinating to me to see all these different, and then I don't want to say people don't know the reason, but it seems like a lot of guesswork and tinkering around and things like that. So it's like, I don't know.
Or it's the CMs just giving them, a blanket profile of essential amino acids, and the companies are saying, all right, flavor this. And I bet if you went to, 9 out of 10 companies, or I would say 98 out of 100 companies, and you asked them, why is your amino acid profile like this, and why do you have these specific dosages? They couldn't give you an answer.
Well, and I remember when the Chemex EAA was getting ready to come out, and Gorilla Chemist said that he's like, we have some data, about these amino acids and why we're using them. And their blend was a little bit different than some. I think they used a ton of tryptophan in theirs, but I never saw any follow up to that. Because I was interested. I was like, well, this is gonna be kind of cool. At least we can see where they're getting the information from. Yeah, I'm sure he was probably provided anyway, but I just never saw it. So it remains a mystery to me, man.
Yeah, the few ways. So we know that 2 of the most highly bioavailable proteins are whey protein and egg protein. So why not simulate the amino acid profile, or just ratio everything out? to make it exactly of those one of those two proteins, or make it identical to human muscle protein. So we've got to know what the amino acid composition of human skeletal muscle protein is. So just back that out, stagger it all out as a proportion of one to the other, base it off that, and backwards design it, and then make your EAA formula out of that.
Yeah, I said, because I get that question all the time. People are like, well, what should the dosages of EAAs be? And I was like, well, I said the only, and not even that this is the right answer, but I said the only logical thing that I can think of is I would try and emulate the amino acid content of a whey protein. Right. I was like, and just sort of go from there. I'm like, see, because I don't know any other way to, if you're trying to get close to a whole protein source, and that, you know, like whether it's milk or something like that, that we know is, you know, one of those really excellent sources. You know, you have eggs and milk and stuff like that. That's the body really likes. It's like, well, shouldn't we try to get close to that? I guess.
Yeah.
That's just sort of my throwing shit against the wall sort of logic, I guess.
Yeah. Or I guess from that, my next question is, instead of supplementing with these individual amino acids, why not just go with a whey, 5 grams of hydrolyzed whey protein as your essential amino acids formula? Because it's already pre-digested, so.
Right, and that's what Court did with his intro.
Yeah.
And, you know, people were like, well, you know, innovation and things like that. So not only did Court do that, he said, I don't believe in amino acids. He's like, I think that, so his intro product was, it was 6 grams of hydrolyzed whey and Velositol, because Velositol showed that it doubled the protein synthesis of 6 grams.
Correct.
So that's it. But in all honesty, people just were like, well, where's the amino acids? You know what I mean? So that's kind of where we're at, is like, well, I made this point like a few times, like on my stories and stuff like that, is where I'm like, well, there's people that want to do innovative things. And actually, I was talking to Ben from Price Law about this the other day too. I said, you know, we have to be also open. I said, sometimes I have to remind myself, like when we see sort of new ingredients come into the fold, sometimes I'm very quick to be like, to just be dismissive of it. But because we see so much bullshit. But at the same time, sometimes you just, if you want to see some innovation, you have to be open. So I try to find that balance where it's like, okay, this might not be the best, you know, studied, this and that, but also we've got to kind of be, so it's like this give and take of not falling for marketing bullshit, but also being open to new things that we might not be sure about. So it's like,
yeah,
it's kind of a delicate balance. So we're just having that conversation the other day.
Speaking of Velositol, so it shows that it doubled the anabolic power of protein, given the fact that you take a suboptimal dose of protein. So 6 grams of whey protein combined with the 2 grams of Velositol, you know, led to that significant improvement in muscle protein synthesis. My question is, if this is an ingredient designed for sports nutrition, how many athletes, serious athletes or serious lifters, are not going to be consuming enough protein to where this ingredient would do them any benefit whatsoever? So I mean, that just seems like one of those ingredients that is unnecessary innovation.
Yeah, I can see that. And it's interesting that, okay, well, I could take less. Say, I don't know if the whole goal was, you know, instead of using 2 scoops of protein, you could use 1 and have it be just as effective. Like if that, okay, but that still hasn't been shown in any way, shape, or form. So it's like, right. Well, if that's the direction you're going, that's cool. But I think people would still, like if I said, like if you marketed it that way, I don't even know if that would really, I don't know, like would that resonate with people? I think people would still just want to do what they do with protein powder.
Yeah, and my thinking, the 2 applications where I could see it possibly having some benefit are for like vegans and vegetarians that may not get enough animal protein, which are a high quality protein. So the Velositol could enhance the absorption of those amino acids and maybe improve the bioavailability of it that way, or the protein potentiating power of it that it would have in the body. Or the elderly who routinely don't consume enough protein and regularly consume suboptimal, quote unquote, suboptimal doses of protein. So it could be used in an application to fight sarcopenia and muscle wasting and things like that.
So I think that's interesting because I feel like one of the big parts that was sort of missed because everyone focuses on the muscle protein synthesis.
Mhm.
So you think, okay, double the protein, but it was the BCAAs that it had the most effect on, like the
Yeah.
ability. So if you were to, like, I think Earth Nutri in their plant protein, do they use Velositol? I can't remember. So if you, I think like what you're saying, if you have a lower amount of BCAAs in a plant protein than you would in there, would adding Velositol, but then companies would probably just put more BCAAs in there. But
Right.
I think that's kind of interesting. Like that way you're not, because you're still having the, whether it's pea protein or whatever in its form,
Yeah.
giving Velocitol to it, maybe improving the BCAA content of it. Because I think the BCAA thing was like, it was like 40 some percent or something like that, the increase in how that was used. But that was like one of those things that I didn't see people talk about the BCAAs. They would just sort of talk about, well, it doubles protein kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Well, that I think that is a bigger buzzword there. You can say doubles the anabolic power of your protein
Right.
shake or something. That's bigger than increases, effectiveness of BCAAs. Although, by and large, BCAAs are still a very good or a very big buzzword in the industry.
It's true. I think it's weird too. It's weird because you have, well, I'm getting off topic here because I'm actually looking at the BPI veggie protein that they came out with.
I did see that they released that. Let's
But
scroll through that.
I don't see. I have to go to their store. I don't see a label. BPI. Boy, I haven't been on BPI site in a long time.
No, it looks completely revamped from the last time I saw it. It says pea protein isolate, brown rice protein, 20 grams per scoop. I'm still looking for an actual ingredients panel.
I don't see an ingredient panel.
No.
I see everything else. I got 40 chat bots and notifications and things like that, but I don't see a damn ingredient label.
No, I see all the marketing copy, but no actual.
It's not fascinating. Like you have all this shit on your website page, but you don't have one little screenshot of what the label actually looks like.
Right. We know we've got 20 grams of protein sourced from peas and brown rice, not dairy. Okay.
But no shot of ingredients.
And it's stevia flavored. It's naturally sweetened, so that the combination of vegan and naturally sweetened sends a shiver up my spine because I cannot assume that's going to taste all that good.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got nothing. I don't see any breakdown whatsoever.
No. Before we hopped on the call or for the recording, you and I were talking a little bit about Glaxon Labs, and the guys over there sent us a care package a couple of weeks ago, so we're just starting to kind of get through it. And Sandy's been coming off of being all sick on and off for the better half of a month now, and so she saw that they have a greens formula on there. I think it's called Super Greens. And it looks like the old Space Jam logo where it's got the orange discs around it.
Yeah,
It's got Super
pretty
Greens.
cool.
That's actually, it's a lemon iced tea or something like that.
Yeah.
That is one of the few green supplements that actually tastes decent.
Well, I think too. I was surprised that they sent it to me. And they fall. I think it's Joey from Glaxon. I talked to him quite a bit. I think they're from everybody I talked to over there. Really nice guys, smart. Joey from there knows his stuff. The guy's smart. He does that supplement lab thing. He does IGTVs. Knows his stuff for sure. I like, and when you see brands like this, it's like there's always that debate, or how do you fall in line where you're like, okay, we want to give you good dosages, but we also we're a business, right? So we have to grow. You have marketing as part of it. So brands trying to strike that balance, and they have really cool marketing. But I was looking at that because they sent me the greens ones too, and I was surprised because they follow along with all my stories. They know how I don't like greens products.
Yeah.
But that one's kind of cool. There's like some pomegranate in there, tart cherry.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things in there. I'm not, I can't comment to the doses because nobody actually knows what the hell an effective dose of greens, all these greens
Right.
blend is really, because they're not.
It was like 2
that
grams, I
extensively
think.
studied. Yeah.
It was like 2 grams of greens, but then there was also like 500 milligrams of berries.
Mm-hmm.
So as I was looking at the label, I was like, it's kind of interesting. There's like 5 grams of fiber, some other things. I said, well, if you're going to make something, maybe they're not saying, hey, this 500 milligrams of berries is going to give you the antioxidants you need to live 10 more years. I was like, but it probably helps with the taste.
Yeah.
Also, so it's like there's kind of a couple different functions of having certain things in there. It's kind of cool. Like there's nothing. It's a different twist. That greens product's a little different twist. Even like we had the Inspired Greens does its thing that's unique, and like Nutrigen does its thing that's pretty unique. And it's like this one's kind of unique too. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, and the other cool thing, I just pulled up the supplement facts here. It's got 5 grams of fiber in it too, from acacia, which is kind of cool. That's not something we always see.
And it's got ashwagandha in there too, I think.
Yeah,
ashwagandha, mushrooms.
It's the 2.5 with analyte standardization, and you're only getting 200 milligrams of that. So that's on the lower end. If you're taking some other ashwagandha throughout the day, like some other KSM, that's like, this is a good complement to it. I wouldn't bank on that as my only source of ashwagandha, though.
Well, and what I see a lot, like some of the companies, and this is just the state where we're at, I think, in the industry, where you'll see some companies maybe use a certain skeleton of ingredients that are solid, and then you start to add some extra pieces, but they're usually like at lower dosages and things like that. And it's like, well, I'm sure if you talk to them, it's like Muscle Sport does this with a couple of their products. They make pretty robust formulas.
Yeah,
and
they do.
You're like, okay, you have these big, monster dosages of these ingredients, and then you'll have, maybe 50 milligrams of ashwagandha or whatever it is, and no one from there is going to go, well, we put that in there because that's going to, but they're like, well, hey, like we have extra room in this, we're going to add an ingredient that we think is pretty cool. So it's not making an excuse for a company to underdose stuff, but you just kind of have to, what I usually do is not only look at the formula overall, but look at their whole line.
Yeah, and make everything kind of be stacked in as a complementary.
Or like, what's their sort of, their approach? Do they, because then some people, like if you were to put 5 ingredients at great dosages in a product, some people might be like, well, where's everything else?
Right.
And then so we're like, okay, well, for our business purposes and things like that, like I'm looking at their Glaxon's GDA. Someone asked me about this the other day too. So it's got berberine, 750 milligrams. Berberine is a really good ingredient, right? We know a lot about it. It's really cool. 750 milligrams is a pretty solid dose.
Yeah, the daily, you want to take it usually 500 milligrams 3 times a day, so you're getting half of the total daily amount right there in one serving of it.
Right, and then as you sort of go down, it sort of, I don't want to say it loses steam in some of the things, but it's like, you have some lower dosages of some of their other ingredients, but it's like, well, that's just kind of where we're at,
Yeah, plus that chromium dose is a heavy dose, because usually you see 200 micrograms of chromium picolinate. So I'm not familiar with this chromium dinicostinstein.
They love them some trademarks too over there.
Oh yeah. Glaxon and Intel and all of those guys. They come up with some names. I'm curious about that. I would need to see what the yield on the chromium is and how it compares to the picolinate form, and to see if the 400 micrograms of that form, about the same as 200 micrograms of chromium picolinate, or is this more effective, less effective? Is it supplying more chromium? Because chromium is one of those few ingredients that's actually got a decent amount of data behind showing that its effects on blood sugar levels and insulin function and things like that. So, the first 2 ingredients on here are really, some heavy hitting, or 2 good heavy hitters that have a decent amount of data behind them in humans too. So.
Yep, and then you have like cinnamon. Like it's gonna work.
Yeah,
it's gonna work whether the banaba in there at that dose is gonna do much, or pomegranate at that dose. I don't know, but it's what it starts off with. I think is going to be effective for what people are going to want to use it for.
Yeah, I've got their nootropics lying around here. Adrinall. I just have not pulled
It's not
out to
bad.
try it yet.
It's not bad. It's very same kind of thing. You have there are some ingredients that are in there that you can tell are sort of shouldering the load of the formula, and then there's some other little pieces in there that I think they're like, okay, well, this is a little tweak here, a little tweak there. It's not a a massive like overload of ingredients, which when it comes to nootropics anyway, you don't always need that. It's not always a good thing necessarily, but again, not to make an excuse for maybe a ingredient to be underdosed, but nootropics sometimes, right? We talk about balance and things. I've used that Adrinall, and it's pretty good, solid.
Yeah,
I mean, it is. I think you looking at the formula, you could probably guess how it's gonna feel, and I think it delivers.
Yeah, and we've seen the Colinase name pop up in the Intel Super Edition, and I know they like Lion's Mane over there. I mean, there's some Lion's Mane in there, or their greens formula too. I like Lion's Mane. I take 1.5 grams of that every day. I just have a bulk Lion's Mane supplement that I take some of that every day, along with a few other nootropics that I really enjoy. So I always like seeing that ingredient in there, and it's also an orange brainwash, which is you and me is one of our favorite ingredients too, or one of our favorite nootropic supplements.
Yep, there's a lot in Morphobrain too, and I think in humans, like people are rightfully concerned about overdosing, say nootropic ingredients, stuff like that. But I think Lion's Mane they were adding it to like soup for humans at like 5 grams a day or something like that, and they didn't find any adverse effects and things like that. So
correct.
I like it. I think there's enough cool stuff about Lion's Mane to justify. It's become one of those ingredients that's finding its way into everything.
Yeah.
But I think much like KSM in a way, it's like I think it's justified.
It comes with very few drawbacks. High doses of it have been well studied and safe. I really like the ingredient. The animal research in it is particularly interesting with things. So I want to see more trials with that.
Yep. So I think that again we're going to have to go back to that. We're going to be the test dummies. We're going to have to start our own company that we're going to be test dummies and log our results.
Yeah. UK brand Foresight Nutrition launches a pre-workout with Reignite.
Oh yeah. So that's Foresight that's Danny and those guys at Insight Supps, the retailer over there. Yeah. This is their brand, their pre-workout.
Interesting. Citrulline malate is 6 grams, solid dose. Beta-alanine 3.2, it's another good one. Tyrosine at 2 grams. Alpha size 500 milligrams, so you're getting 250 milligrams of actual alpha GPC. 300 milligrams of N-Extra.
They love that shit over there in the UK, man.
N-Extra?
Everybody loves that N-Extra stuff. Yeah. I still have never... I was talking to Nick, Rage Nick, about that ingredient. Didn't do a lot of research on it, but him and I were just kind of... I know we sort of were like, hey, what is this stuff? Because him and I both used... It was called DFib from HR Labs. They're a pretty good UK company. And I was like, but I don't know anything about this N-Extra. He's like, well, I'm going to go check it out. And I was like, well, I'm going to go check it out. And we sort of reconvened. And I was like, what'd you find out? He's like, nothing. And I was like, me neither. So it was just one of those things where they're like, I think it extends the stimulants or something like that, like along those lines.
Yeah, it says it provides caffeine-free energy boost for up to 5 hours.
Be a little more vague.
Yeah, it's derived from galanga root. There's not a whole lot of actual data available on their site. It says it blocks adenosine, so it's mimicking the effects of caffeine. Potentiates dopamine release, again mimicking the effects of caffeine. And it increases blood flow. And then it also says amplifies caffeine benefits without the crash. So I guess independently it can boost some cognitive and mental performance and energy. But if you stack it with caffeine, it might have a synergistic effect, kind of like teacrine does or dynamine does with caffeine.
Yeah, because when I was first listening to it, before what you just said, because I was like, well, is it like an MAOI where, if you have it with certain things, and is it... But based on like what you're just saying, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I'm going to have to reach out and get the actual data from them. It says you can request a research summary from them. So I might do that, and then next week we can do a deep dive into an extra.
I'll have to reach out to Danny too. He, I mean, so you're going to get, almost 400 milligrams of caffeine. So really, when it comes down to it, it's only a few ingredients. You got alpha size, tyrosine, caffeine, dynamine, beta-alanine, citrulline.
Yeah, there's also for the listeners at home. There's 100 milligrams of dynamine, 40% giving 40 milligrams of that. So you got 40 milligrams of dynamine, 390 of caffeine total from the yield from all the forms in there, including guarana and dicaffeine malate. Then you get a little bit sprinkling of B vitamins and vitamin C. So, yeah, I mean, it's a very well-rounded standard stock formula.
Yeah, I don't know what, like I said, the wild card is that an extra. I know like I said, I've only used it once. It was in that DFib. And that was that was a good rock solid, I think, pre-workout. But I can't, it's not like I took it and I was like, oh shit, there's the N extra working. You know what I mean? So it's like, I've never tried it by itself, so.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Awesome, man. Well, I know you've got family in town, and we've been going on for about an hour now, so I don't want to keep you too long. I'll let you get to them and enjoy the family time.
Yeah, man. Parents surprised us, came for a visit. I've only seen them once in the last year, so it was kind of nice.
Yeah.
But I was not gonna stand you up because we missed one a couple weeks ago, and it wasn't gonna happen again, man.
Yeah, I mean, I understand you're in high demand these days with what your podcast appearances and these. There was a little scuttlebutt I heard that you might be brokering a deal to become the formulation consultant for Insane Labs. I heard something like that, but I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. So.
Yeah, you know what would happen if that was true? They'd be like, "Hey, Justin, what do you? Can you come up with a formula?" And I would hand it to them. And they would go, "Can you make that formula 1/30th of the cost?" And I would say, "Well, sorry."
Oh, good times, man. Always enjoy these chats. Have a fantastic weekend, and thank you as always for joining me.
All right, my brother. I will talk to you soon, I'm sure.
You got it, bud. Have a good one.
All right, see you.